Hi, everyone. Welcome in online or in person to Concordia University's For Space. Thanks so much for joining us for an exploration of Sucker Artist in Residence, Kaitlyn's project, which has consisted of tearing apart the seams of the past and metamorphosing, metamorphosizing, I was going to say, sorry about that, got a bit tangled, the fragments into something new. Just to help situate you all, we are streaming to YouTube live from For Space, which is located on unceded Indigenous lands here in Jojage, Montreal. And we have the pleasure of working with our university community to mobilize and exchange knowledge by creating daily activities, conversations, roundtables, workshops, etc. So it's been our pleasure to collaborate with the Concordia University Center for Creative Reuse and their 6 artists in residence this semester to activate these projects in development. And perhaps to tell us a little bit more about it, I'll first pass it over to Aryan. Hello.
Hello, thank you, Anna. So for those of you who don't know, Concordia University Center for Creative Reuse is a place here on campus in the Grey Nuns building at 1200 Rue Guy, where we collect materials from all over the university, school supplies, raw materials, and so on, and make them available to the public for free. So you can come and get materials for projects, whether they're for school or for home. We're open 3 afternoons a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 1 to 5. And to speak more about the residency itself, this is technically our 5th artist residency since we opened back in 2017. We had a bit of a blip during COVID, but we're back and we're excited to be back and working with the For Space for the first time in this residency and working with the space as a studio for the artists that were involved in the residency. And so they've been making over the last few months in the space and outside of the space using either materials from the center or materials that they found out in the world. And so we have Kaitlyn today talking about fabrics and so on. So I'll pass it over to you.
Hello, my name is Kaitlyn. I'm a third year English literature student, and I applied into this residency because I wanted to work with textiles and combine my passion for textiles with words and storytelling. At the beginning of this residency, I had initially wanted to make a physical storybook, a fairy tale more so, because I was really inspired by fairy tales and their search for meaning. And I'm very much concerned about the era that we're living in now and what we make of meaning. And I noticed that there's just like this loss of meaning that's pretty widespread, and it really hurts to see so many people faltering in their beliefs and in their hopes. And I think nihilistic approaches and ways of thinking have been romanticized and normalized. And so I kind of wanted to subvert that and just focus on the individual I as a vessel for meaning, taking inspiration from the Romantics. They prioritize the individual to relay a story, and that the individual is a being in itself, and whatnot. I don't have my quilt here with me today, but that's what I was making, or I am making, because yeah. So I deviated from my physical storybook, my physical fairy tale, because for a long time I was deciding what I wanted my fairy tale to depict, and I realized I just couldn't write a fairy tale. But unbeknownst to me, I was only beginning my own fairy tale, because the timing for this project really worked out seamlessly, because I found myself in a place where, not that I found myself in a place, but something had happened to me and the rug was pulled out right under me. And I thought that I could use this opportunity to explore meaning, if you're following. But yeah, so my quilt is composed of things that I would have otherwise have thrown away or donated, old clothing, because I wanted to reuse. And I feel like a lot of people hold sentimental value to the things that they wear. I know I'm like that. I have a hard time letting go of things, and especially clothes and how symbolic they can be and how they can represent certain times of your life. And so I had all of these textiles that represented different parts of my life and parts of my life that I needed to forego. And so I decided I wanted to use these textiles to tear them apart, to rip into them, and then make something new. And that's why I am here today, in hopes to bring everybody together to start making something new. I'm making a poncho. Anita, you could come here if you'd like. If you'd like to start, yeah. Yeah. What else can I say about my project? What else can I say? Oh yes. Here is Karis. She's making a blanket.
Making and it's called Easy on Me blanket. It's the first time I've ever knitted, so it's yeah, I've restarted a couple of times and it's not looking amazing, but yeah,
Well,
I'm getting there.
You're making something new.
Yeah,
So
I am making something
props
new.
to you.
Yeah.
Props to you. Have you ever? So this is your first time knitting, but what has drawn you to knitting?
So I've done crochet before. I feel like it's quite nice. It's just like a nice activity to do in your downtime rather than just, I don't know, spending time on your phone or something. It's like relaxing. You can do it whilst like watching the TV or like chatting to people. Like right now, I guess. Although I think I'm probably gonna have to concentrate a bit to do it. But yeah, and I don't know. I think it's just nice if you've like made something yourself, if you put the time in to make it yourself.
Are you self-taught? Did somebody else in your life teach you? Or?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, I'm just following the booklet.
Okay. The book, the literature.
Yeah. But yeah, it was actually a present from my mum, but then because she was gonna make me the blanket and then she ran out of time, so she just gave me the booklet and the wool instead. Yeah, so now I'm making the blanket.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Thank you. Over here we have Anita. We met at the Fiber Arts Club in the library that takes place every Tuesday from 2:45 to 5:45. As you can see, Anita is an experienced fiber artist. If you aspire.
Yeah, it's really nice.
How long have you been knitting for? I mean, you also crochet, right?
Yeah, I think crocheting since I was about 10 maybe.
10.
Knitting since I was about 15.
Okay. And what initially drew you to knitting or and crocheting?
I think I've just always liked making things. I was always looking for new ways to make things, whether it's drawing, baking. And I think knitting and crochet is just, once you get used to it, you don't even have to think about it. And I find it soothing, just something to do with my hands. Yeah, because I have a lot of energy, nervous energy. Helps relax me.
Right, like just doing something. Yeah. I mean, you were talking and not even looking at your needles, and that's just the level I aspire to.
Something to do in class as well during lectures.
Even on the bus or on the metro, if you want to appear mysterious. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that helpful when I started crocheting. It was when it was like online classes, and I would like lose concentration too easily. So I would like tell myself that at least I'm still doing something. Yeah. I'm gonna end up with like some crochet, even if I'm gonna have to go over the lectures again. Yeah. But it's still kind of effective.
And who showed you how to knit? How did you? Was it like through a family member, a friend?
My aunt, she's been knitting for a long time. Yeah. So she's been knitting for a long time. And I guess she didn't really teach me, but she more inspired me. She just works on things really quickly, and she makes almost all of her clothes.
Right.
So it's kind of something I've always been around.
Mhm.
And for crocheting, I started making like little animals and stuff just because I thought they were really cute. When I was younger, I thought, yeah. So,
Right.
I very recently discovered a tiny frog knitter on Instagram that makes like frogs the size of like the tip of your finger.
yeah, I've seen that they like crochet with thread, I think, like
Yeah,
sewing
I think you're
thread.
right.
That's, yeah,
And
that
they're
sounds
so
painful too, though, like hunched over and like your vision starts straining, but
Maya, you're here with what? Talk to us about what you have.
I brought some extra materials if anyone else wants to join. But recently I've done, yeah, I've been working on some fibers projects too. One fun one is my partner has been bringing home like broken and used chairs off the street and has been like stripping the wood and trying to like reassemble them and make them nicer. And I've been experimenting with like kind of quilted like upholstery, like use just putting different fabrics together to reupholster the chairs, and that's been very fun. So I thought I would try and work on some of that.
So you're saying you're gonna have some unique DIY chairs, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah,
Fibers meets furniture.
I love that because it's time that fibers reach a whole new level than just, you know, non-furniture, things that aren't furniture. I feel like the reputation that knitting and crochet has and other kinds of fiber arts as just crafts is just backwards to me, and I feel like a lot of it is rooted in misogyny, just because it's, you know, more so or traditionally like a woman's craft, how it's just not really taken fully as an art form. So
Classic art and craft divide. I remember learning at some point how like conceptual art was considered like high art and craft less so. And I think it's changing in some ways, but I agree.
I found this really unique article about how graphic design is now taking to fibers more, and how like graphic artists are using textiles for their graphic design. And that's really cool. But would you like to speak to your history with fiber arts?
Yeah, sure. Honestly, like, yeah, I love your questions because for me, fibers has been just sort of like integrated. When I was really young, my grandma was like, "We're gonna learn how to use a sewing machine and like the basics of everything, pretty much." And even though I've forgotten a lot, she taught me. Now I can look anything up on YouTube and kind of like be able to catch on pretty quick.
Right.
So very grateful to grandma.
It becomes a language, you know, and yeah, definitely when you're able to like open any kind of book, see a pattern, and you're able to do it, it's a very rewarding feeling. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do both at the same time.
It's okay.
I just need to find where I left off here.
Can I ask you a couple questions too about your process? Would that be okay?
Of course, yes.
Also, don't let me distract you from finding your spot, though.
This is half of my work. It's just looking. It's looking at things. Like even for my quilt, it was just staring at it from different angles, like trying to make sure I liked what I was doing. But okay, here we are.
Are you kind of winging it, or are you following a pattern right
I'm
now?
following a pattern. I have it on my phone,
Cool.
but I also am kind of winging it. I never really like to follow patterns 100% because it just stops being fun for me. But yeah, here I'm just kind of confused. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna read you this. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the questions I had, well, I remember at the beginning, like back in January even, I can't remember the first time we all met as a group, all the residents, but
Mhm.
I remember how your work was very linked to like the where like fibers meets literature almost and like
Yes.
storytelling.
Yes.
I'm so
yes.
curious like how that happened and like where did that idea come from and did it end up in your work at all, like in the quilt? Sounds like it.
Yes. I kind of, it started off with this mantra, things can have meaning if I decide they're meaningful. That's what inspired me to do this project. But in my quilt, no, I realized maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say like I'm going back on what I think about textiles and words, but I took the opportunity to not approach this as I would like an academic essay or something and having so much text, but there is text in there. The focal point of my quilt is this block that says really, really simply, I'm on a fairy tale quest of my own now, dot, dot, dot. And originally I was gonna add more, but I realized I just wanted that to speak for itself. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at with textiles and literature. But yeah, yeah, of course. Thank you for your question. I'm just gonna take a look at my next step here. I'm so sorry. I'm using my phone. It's very.
How do you guys not lose track of where you are? Because I always forget where I am in this.
There's stitch counters you can use, but also just counting in your head and keeping track and really being concentrated.
Yeah, I use a safety pin as a stitch marker.
Okay.
Let's see. Are you stuck?
Well, I just like
do-
I'm supposed to be following a pattern, and I always forget which point I've got up to. So like, I definitely haven't followed the pattern, but like also you can't tell really because it's the same color. So yeah,
I mean, you're not doing this in the round, are you? Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
You are a blanket in the round. That's really cool.
is that hard? Is that advanced?
So, okay, but it's not gonna be like a circular tubular.
No.
Okay, because that's usually when.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's right, because it's just such a long project. You need those really long knitting needles.
Yeah, I
right?
think so. I don't really know. I didn't choose. It just said to buy these needles, so I was like, okay.
But I feel like what you're doing now is great because you're just feeling out the project and you're just letting
Yeah,
it
I
take
feel like
you. You're
I've done
going.
like what, like 2 inches. I feel like when I get to the end of the blanket,
Yeah.
I'm gonna know what I'm doing, so it's okay.
What stitches are you using? What's this called for?
Just like knitting and purling. Is that what you call it? Knit
Yeah.
stitch, purl stitch.
Okay, great.
Yeah, those are
Okay.
two basics.
Doing like a stockinette stitch, like
I
one
don't
of
know.
each, like one.
Oh,
one
no, it like changes like each line. So you do like the one I'm on right now. It's like knit 2, purl 2, knit 2, purl 3, but like each line has like a slightly different pattern. But the thing is, I keep on forgetting which point I'm at, basically. Yeah.
What is the final like outcome?
Like a big blanket.
A big blanket. Cool.
Yeah. I think. But yeah, I kind of wanted to finish it before it got too warm. So who knows if by the time I finish it, it's actually gonna be summer, so I'm not gonna need it. But
You never know.
yeah,
You never
Yeah.
know. Good things take time.
There's always next winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh. So let's see. Okay, chain one single crochet and same chain. Doing that.
I was thinking about why maybe fiber arts aren't considered art and they're considered crafts. I think a lot of it might be the accessibility of it.
Mhm.
Anyone can do it.
Right.
It's like the craft store that you can start. And it's self-expression, but it's not taken as seriously because it doesn't really require training.
Mhm.
Like you don't go to art school. Well, you don't have to go to art school for fiber arts to learn it. Like passed down.
Right.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, I went to this outsider art museum and there was this really impressive quilt that was all embroidered, and it wasn't considered fine art, it wasn't considered something that would be put in a traditional museum. It was still considered outsider art, but
Right.
it was still really impressive. And
That's an interesting. Sorry. No. I was just gonna say that the fact that it's passed down, that's really cool.
yeah,
Because have you ever taken any textile courses? Because I know you're in fine arts, right? Or you
Yeah,
were in
I
fine
have.
arts,
I have. Along the way, I have ended up taking I guess textiles classes. Yeah.
right? How do you find them? Or how did you find them?
Good. I think. Yeah, this is interesting. I haven't done much reflection on how technically it's always been integrated into my life because of how it was passed down to me. And it definitely caused more curiosity, I think, having had experiences as a child using my hands with fibers and stuff. But yeah, I took a couple of textiles classes at university, and it was very trying 10 different techniques in one semester, so getting a little taste of everything, which was great. But I remember in those classes talking about this topic too, on the history of craft and how craft just traditionally wasn't really seen as art, even though some pieces are so intricate and amazing and so much skill and time are put into them. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
I think art likes to think of itself as better than craft, so there are barriers, that keep something from being art, and kind of downgraded to the category of craft.
Right. And there are people who, not to generalize that, who really feel strongly otherwise, and it's
Yeah,
to each their own, but it is really weird.
elitism and the exclusivity of art, like traditional art. It's something they want to keep.
I wonder if it's also financially that way. Sometimes I see quilts that sure are worth a lot of money, but in comparison, sometimes you'll see a contemporary painting that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, and quilts are sometimes have taken much more time or skill or whatever. That's a whole conversation, but I haven't seen a quilt worth that much ever.
Yeah. I think a lot of it probably also has to do with the reputation of artists.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. Are there any famous quilters? Is that a thing? Or fiber artists?
There are. I mean, during my research for this project, I have come across a few whose names I don't remember, but yeah, I don't. I mean, I feel like with the advent of the internet, and I feel like that's maybe it's changed, and maybe there are more figures now, YouTubers who are teaching other people how to do it and stuff. So I feel like there are.
Yeah, there's an Instagram page I've seen of an artist. She makes vests and stuff, and she makes letter work, and she writes things on them.
I know
Yeah,
that,
and there's the
yeah.
one where she says, "Is this considered art? I'm not sure. Call me." And leaves her phone number on the vest.
Yeah.
Kind of meta-critical.
Yeah, because it goes in vein of this conversation. She also has a piece where it's calling out what we just talked about, oh, it's just a craft because a woman's doing it.
Yeah. Or it's just a craft until a man says it's art.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I think that fiber arts would be taken more seriously as art if there were more male fiber artists, which I think, and also you can see the number of like how few women artists are in art museums. I think that has to do something to do with it as well. There's still a lot of sexism in the art world.
Well, there we are. We are here right now, and we are making new things.
What other like fiber arts have you guys worked with besides what you're working on right now?
What other fiber arts? Sewing, crochet. Those are my three main fiber arts. I'd love to start needlework or even nail binding. I don't know if you've heard of it. I was telling you about it, a while ago, but it predates knitting and crochet, and it's a fiber art that the Vikings used, and it just consists of real wool, a needle, and a thumb. And people are making these beautiful, intricate mittens.
What's it called?
Nail binding. Nail binding, yes.
And
So-
what do they do? What does it create?
Fabric,
Okay.
right? But it's really, really warm because it's wool. So people typically make mittens, slippers, or hats. But that's what I want to delve into next. You guys?
Well, yeah, I haven't done that much. I've done some crocheting. So I crocheted like this vest thing. I almost finished a bag, but I've like done so much of it, but I just haven't like finished off. And I've also done like half a hat. I've got like a habit of starting projects and just not finishing them. But yeah, I've never done anything like sewing or anything like that. Yeah,
Right.
I would like to, but yeah.
Yeah, I find people always have like a gateway into the world of fiber arts. And it's always interesting to see like what people started out with. And or even just how people gravitate towards fiber arts.
Mhm.
I was having this conversation a while ago with someone, and they brought up how they would see their mom knit or like their grandmother knit, but they didn't knit. But years later, it just popped into their head to like knit. I just thought it was a really cool subconscious way to connect to the people in your life. What about you, Anita? Any other fiber arts that you partake in?
Yeah, I guess besides crocheting, I like sewing as well. Oh, embroidery. I've done
Yeah.
embroidery. That's mostly it.
Yeah,
When you say sewing, what sort of things do you do?
I like making clothes.
Mhm.
Like taking in my clothes. That kind of thing. I've made just like reupholstered a chair. That's not really sewing.
upholstered chair. Like
Yeah,
what?
well, because I
I
just
forgot about that one. Yeah.
I just moved here this summer and I had to buy all new furniture, but I didn't want like plastic IKEA furniture, but I couldn't really afford anything nice. So I bought used furniture and I sanded it and re-varnished it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so I got a table and a chair. It took forever.
Do you think like this is a piece that you're always gonna have? Do you see it being?
I think maybe the table is, because that turned out pretty well. The chair I never really got to finish,
Okay, right.
but it kind of I reupholstered it. I didn't finish sanding it, and I always thought I can finish it later, so it's kind of a work in progress. But I think I'll probably keep it just because how much work I've already put into
Right.
it, and it's kind of more meaningful.
Yeah, like that's definitely something one should keep. and like it should have a long, long life, and you'll always have it as an archive of this time of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is also kind of why I didn't want to buy like IKEA furniture, because I wanted something that would last.
Yeah. Also, it's just like way more sustainable that you're
Yeah,
gonna be buying something secondhand and like giving it a new life.
Yeah, I had a lot of time on my hands over the summer, so.
That's something that, like, obviously this is on theme, the whole reuse artist residency and all, but just spending my days in a reuse center, I feel like I see like every single day the amount of stuff that probably was used like once or twice, or like had one or two owners, and then there's a lot of furniture that is just built really out of plastic and in ways that they did not plan that it would have a very long life. There's so much out there that has lived such a very short life and then ends up in the trash. So I don't know, there's something about seeing it every day where I'm like, it's actually really important that we get used things and like try our best not to buy things that are going to last such a short period of time. But it does definitely take more time.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wasn't doing anything for a few months over the summer, so I could kind of do whatever I wanted full time. But if you're working 8 hours a day, you only have weekends, it makes it a lot harder.
Do you have any future projects? Anybody for that matter? Any future fiber art projects you can't wait to take on?
I really want to finish the hat that I started.
Yes.
Maybe before summer. I'll do my blanket just in time for summer, and then I'll do my summer hat just in time for winter. But yeah, I actually really do want to, because if it works, it'll be really cute. So
Yeah, no, I encourage you, because you and your history of losing hats, I feel
Yeah.
like this one you won't lose.
I've lost like, I don't even know, like 4 hats since being in Montreal. Like, and I've been in Montreal for 5 months. So yeah. So if I actually make it, then I'll probably make the effort to not lose it.
What kind of hat is it?
It's like a little sort of like bucket hat, but it's like sort of lime green, and it has little daisies going around.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah, and I've done like a few of the daisies, but like I was following a YouTube video, and I'm pretty sure her head's quite small, the girl in the YouTube video, and I also probably like crocheting too tight, so I'm kind of just gonna have to, and that's kind of why I gave up, because I was like, oh, it's more complicated than I thought it was gonna be. I'm actually gonna have to think myself about how to make it fit my head.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like even if your tension is too tight, like it's an easy fix. It's an easy fix. So don't despair, Paris. Don't despair. Yeah.
What about you?
Ponchos. I was in my mitten era, and now I'm in my poncho era.
Is this your first poncho?
Yes, and not my last. Like, do you see it? Is it coming along?
Really cool, yeah.
I wanted to ask you what the fiber art community is like where you're from England.
I don't know, because I'm not really part of it, so
Right.
I'm sure there is one.
Okay, so you don't.
I don't really know much about it, no.
Okay, interesting. Just something to I thought of.
But yeah, like I have had like, I've got friends who have like upholstered chairs, and I've got a friend who like studies knitwear at university, so that obviously that does exist, but I don't know that much about it.
Right. Because I feel like different parts of the world have different ways of seeing different things, like cafes here in North America, it's very much
Work.
Yeah.
Don't
Whereas
speak work.
other places have like cafes that are more for like sitting down and taking your time kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I've was wondering if that's if maybe there's some kind of difference in fiber arts different places.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, my family's from Bolivia, and there, I think knitting and textiles, it's a lot of, it's like a traditional thing, of
Right.
course, to make, but it's also things people do for work. It's like their jobs to knit, like a lot of people, and they just sell sweaters and whatever on the street. And same with like weaving. There's a typical kind of pattern, I guess. Well, especially you see it in places like Guatemala, they have their own type, and in Bolivia, they also have their own type. It's called aguayo, like type pattern, and yeah, it's like it's more, it's culturally important, I think.
Right. How would you describe the relationship to fiber arts here in comparison in
I mean, I guess here it's just like, oh, that's an interesting thing people do for fun. Like,
Right,
oh,
okay.
that's cute hobby, I guess. Whereas, yeah, there it's like, it's just what, it's for some people, it's what they do. They produce textiles to sell.
When I think of my grandma, for example, my grandma was from India, and I don't know I don't know much now about what it's like there, but when I think about the influence that she had and like what she would kind of talk about, it seemed more like almost like ways of like saving money, not being the emphasis, but it ended up coming across very much like how, like literally how to fix things to make them last longer, to save money, or like yeah, just how to do things yourself. And yeah, like it just being very integrated into the lifestyle, probably also of specifically women, to like do all that behind the scenes work in a way to make sure that like things are fixed and still working and all that stuff.
Yeah, seems like it's a slower life in other countries. There's more time to mend things and make them yourself. So I think there's more value placed on it. Whereas now somebody would say, well, why are you knitting a sweater? You can just buy it and it's cheap, like just go to H&M or something.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like if it's sad because other people, because yes, it's true that there is like a privilege with having time and having time to work on things, and it's just it's quite saddening how other people would be how other people would like to be doing these sort of things, but they can't, and because they don't really have time to access their creativity. Yeah. It's true. No. Okay. What's next for me? What's next for me? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one project I'm kind of excited about is I like crop a lot of my t-shirts, so I have a lot of strips of fabric that I've saved because I kind of thought I would use them for something, and then making t-shirt yarn out of it. And I was going to crochet a little cave, like a little bed for my cat, because it's like the perfect texture, I guess, have like good structure, like a little cat house. But it's a lot of work to cut all of the strips of fabric into the right size and then like join them together.
Have you ever created anything with the t-shirt yarn?
Yeah, well, not sewing or like not knitting or crocheting, but I did like a coil mat. So you just coil it and then do a blanket stitch. So it's just held together. it's sewn, I guess, on the seam. I think crocheting might be easier, but
This is something that also we're big on at Sucker.
Yes, yes.
We have like tens of thousands, no, that's an exaggeration, thousands of like branded t-shirts that come from the university,
Yeah.
from Frosh and from different events. And it's really an issue. Like
Mhm.
there are these logos that aren't, people don't really want to wear them after, or they have a date on them so they can't be reused by the organization or whatever it is. So we have a lot of t-shirts, if
Yeah,
ever you're looking.
that's what gave me the idea.
Yeah, okay,
Is
good.
that the Fiber Art Tech Club, they wanted to make t-shirt yarn. And I didn't even think about it. I have all this fabric. That's such a good idea.
Yeah,
Is that going to stop, do you think? Like the production of t-shirts, that kind of thing?
great question.
Because
we're
it isn't
really
really necessary, is it? Like you don't need to have a t-shirt for one night out.
You could make a pin or something. Like if you
Yeah.
have to make something.
And
And
just be like, everyone wear a red
Button.
t-shirt if you have one.
yeah.
yeah, or it's a certain color. There's many solutions. Something we've thought about, because some groups are really adamant about like, yeah, the logo and it being like memorabilia also for people. But one thing we were toying with was the idea of having the logo that is reused year to year with an empty spot, like a circle or something, that a little patch could be like put on year, like you can basically reuse it every year and just change the patch with the date or
That's a good
whatever.
idea,
something
yeah.
like
That reminds me of this band I really like, and they're very DIY. So they wouldn't sell merch. They would have stencils, and you could take an empty T-shirt to their concert, and they would
Yes.
spray paint their logo onto a T-shirt.
Such a good
And it was
idea.
free, they wouldn't charge for it. And
What band is this?
well, they disbanded. They're called Bomb the Music Industry.
I love her.
That's a really great idea though.
Yeah.
And then it's like an activity, which is fun too. But yeah, if ever, I'm sure you've looked into it and you seem quite skilled. So, but if ever you want like a strategy on how to make it pretty quick, the way that I've seen is like essentially, if this were like a tube, folding this over, not all the way, and then cutting the strip past.
Yeah.
You've done that.
Yeah, I've
Great,
seen
great,
that.
great.
The
Perfect.
problem I have is that because I cut maybe like 2 inches off my T-shirts, I have like tiny strips. So I have to sew them
Yeah.
together.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think my cat will mind the seams.
True. They'll just be even more structured.
How's it coming along, Karis?
Got to add a new ball of yarn.
Yeah.
Do you just tie a knot? It says tie a loose knot onto the tail.
Like,
It's
here,
like,
let's see. I've never worked with circular needles. Anita, if you want to.
Yeah, I just take the new yarn as if it were the old one and work with it, and then you have the tails here, and you can leave them in, or
afterwards, yeah.
or sometimes too, if I don't think they'll hold, I just tie a little.
Okay, I'll do that.
Loose knot,
Thank you.
and then you can weave it in after.
Yeah.
What part of the sweater is that?
I'm starting from the bottom. I don't really have a pattern for a sweater. I just have the chart because I don't know how old the pattern is. I think it's pretty old, so it looks kind of outdated. It was like a really big, baggy, like drop shoulder thing, which I didn't really like that much. So I'm kind of improvising the part, like the fit of it.
Cool. So it's kind of fitted. Is that the idea?
Yeah. I mean, I would have done maybe like tighter ribbing, but I didn't have a different size of needles, so I used the same one. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not as experienced with knitting as I am with crochet, so I don't know how to give it shape, like, well, I guess I could always look it up, but I need to look up how to reduce the armhole and stuff.
Honestly, look at what you've made.
Yeah, well, but
don't tell me you're not.
I think it looks a lot more complicated because of the color work, but it's just knitting, just switching colors. Like, I think cabling seems really hard.
I love it though. And she actually was doing this before, and then she undid it all, and now she's restarted. Like the kind of dedication that involves is just.
Yeah, there are just so many good patterns, and I wanted something for spring. And there was this pattern I found with little flowers and a frog and like a watering can. It was so cute. But yeah, I didn't have yarn that was thin enough.
Have you seen those Pachamama jumpers? Like the
Yeah.
vintage ones, like with the big daisies in the
Yeah.
center?
I wanted to make one with like the oranges. Have you seen that one?
No.
Yeah, it has like, it's blue and it has really big oranges.
From Pachamama?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to go look that up because I've only ever seen like a few of their designs. Like it's mostly with the daisies. There's celestial designs. There's all kinds of, but oranges I've not come across.
They get knitters from Ecuador, right?
Sorry?
They hire knitters from Ecuador.
I mean, I think it began in Ecuador, and now they have like this online shop, but I'm not too sure about them.
I think they still have the people who knit them are in Ecuador, and it's kind of like a fair trade thing.
How would you be willing to describe the basic premise of switching colors? That's something I've never done. Like how you have the design.
Yeah, so I use a chart. So it's like this, and you work on it right to left, and each little square is a stitch, and
So you were like repeating this again and again and again
Yeah.
as you go around? Okay. And then let's say like right here, you do the 2 black squares. When you come to the red square, what happens?
you just pick up the red yarn.
Instead of the other one. Huh.
Yeah, so it looks difficult, but it's not really. I mean, it's kind of annoying to have all these colors to work with, but that's it.
Another question. Do you have, so here there's like pink, red, black, green, white, yellow. Do you have all 6 of those attached at once?
No, well, I didn't know this until maybe 2 weeks ago. You can only really work with 2 colors at a time, otherwise you get like this weird little ripple effect. So if you have more than 2 colors, you can go in afterwards with a duplicate stitch, which is what I started to do here, which is like embroidering. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Like here, you've got black and pink, and then once you get to here, you switch to black and green.
No, I did all 3 colors,
Okay.
and that's why it kind of looks a little wavy.
I see. But in theory, if you were to do it again,
yeah, I would probably, maybe I would do just the black and the pink, and then go in afterwards with the green, because the green is only 1 stitch.
Down
So
below.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. And then how do you switch out colors? Like how do you stop one ball of yarn and then start another?
You just cut it, and then you weave it in at the end, and just pick up the next color, and keep working with it.
Wow. there's a whole bunch of little threads.
Yeah, which you have to weave in afterwards. But
Cool. Thanks for explaining.
How did your first color work project come about? Was it
I really liked how it looked. I don't know. I guess I'd never done color work, and I was getting kind of bored of my sweaters and stuff, and I wanted something, maybe an interesting pattern. And it seemed kind of ambitious, but I was getting bored of knitting too. Well, maybe because I haven't really explored much, so I thought that would be a good next thing to learn.
and the result of it was it like this, or was it
Yeah, it was just some cuffs I made. I don't know if you remember.
that was your first?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, I thought you've been doing color work your whole life, because this is just okay.
No, I did some like structured knitting earlier. Like when I was younger, I had a book about how to knit cats. And that was, yeah,
So okay,
that
so
was complicated, I guess. But yeah, I never really did much exploration with knitting.
okay. Well, very talented. Very talented. Very talented.
What are people's favorite things that they've made? One of your favorite things.
I have this kooky skirt that I made from an old pair of denim jeans, and I added crochet onto it. I added patchwork onto it, and it's one of my favorite things that I've made, because it's just so fun to wear, and it's got ladybugs, crochet ladybugs on it. Yeah, and I can't wait for it to get warmer so I can wear it again. But that's the favorite, like my favorite thing that I made. Okay. With you guys.
I haven't really made that much, so it's good.
No. Sounds like you made a bunch of things.
I've made like half of like 3 things. What about you guys?
I made a vest, crocheted vest with a heart on it, which I think turned out really well, but the kind of yarn I used it was cotton, so it's kind of stiff, so it's not very good to wear, I think. Maybe by itself, but it's got really big holes, so maybe in the summer or something, but it turned out, I think it's really cute.
Yeah.
I think it's some of the stuff that I ended up like wearing the most that just felt like actually really practical in the end. Like I think I've made a bunch of stuff where yeah, it doesn't really fit right, or I just don't, it's not actually my style in the end and stuff. But there's a t-shirt I've made that's just split right down the middle. It's one of my old pajama shirts and one of my good friend's old pajama shirts, so it's kind of like sentimental, but also I just wear it a lot because I like how it looks. The simple one, but
How do you guys feel about, well, I mean, I guess making things but then not wearing them? Like, do you feel like you're betraying your creation, or something like that? Is that a thing, or is it just me? I don't know.
So the one thing that I actually finished making was this like crochet vest, and it had taken me, I mean, like I used to do it whilst I was like doing lectures online, So like literally months, I guess, had passed whilst I was making this. I tried it on and it just didn't suit me. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, I felt devastated. Then I gave it to my friend. I'm like, I don't mind as long as someone's wearing it. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like wasted time.
Yeah. Right. That's a good thing. Yeah. Just passing it off to somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel bad because I mean I really wanted to make those stranded cups, and I was like, I'll wear them all the time, and they're really cute, and I don't really have that many gloves or fingerless gloves, so this will be perfect. And I never wear them. I don't even think about them that much. So I was so excited to make them, and I spent so much time making them. I think they turned out so well, and I have no idea what happened.
Sometimes it just feels, I think sometimes I feel like, yeah, a lot of time went in. And I don't know what to do with it then, because I don't want to get rid of it. But I also don't wear it. So it just kind of lives.
It's waiting for its next life.
Yeah.
I made the vest, like a crocheted vest that's like a spider web, like a big spider web. I just never know when to wear it, like how to wear it, and there are all these ends I need to weave in. And I mean, I think if I didn't, I could just cut them and it would be fine. But I just never feel like it's done, and I feel like it'll always look like it's homemade. I don't really. I don't know. I don't want to be like. I don't want it to be so noticeable. That it's like handmade in a bad way.
Like I get asked the question quite a lot about like maybe like jewelry that I'm wearing or like clothes that I'm wearing. People are like, oh my gosh, did you make that yourself? And I'm like, no, I spend money on this. But like I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that looks like it. And I think that is normally when it has been made by someone and I bought it. But like I think having something which doesn't look like it was made like in a factory isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, maybe I judge it more harshly because I made it and I can see all the imperfections and the like the ends that aren't woven in. Like I don't think anyone else would really notice because no one's looking at the inside of my sweater. But
Honestly, unpopular opinion, let's stop weaving in our ends. Yeah. Just, yeah, no.
But we'll hang out.
Yes, shaggy kind of look. So in now.
To be fair, like because I did used to, when I was like 17, I used to be really into like buying stuff from charity shops and then altering them myself. But I have received no proper training on how to use a sewing machine, so I have all these clothes which do just have like loose threads coming out. But like most people don't look that up and close for your clothes. As long as it doesn't bother you, I feel like it's fine.
Yeah. And it's strange how like when we're doing things for ourselves, or I mean, maybe not you, Anita, how we don't really care if something's not perfect, but and we'll have like loose threads, unweaved ends, but how like when it's for somebody else, it's like no, it has to be perfect.
Yeah. And I used to think as well, I was like, oh gosh, is this a waste? Like, because if I give it to someone else now, like if I don't want to wear it anymore, like no one's gonna want to buy this because it is like not perfectly done. But then I thought, well, I bought it from like secondhand in the first place, so I've already given it like a new life once. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going to a secondhand shop that like will buy clothes from you. You bring them and they'll give you like $3 item or something. And I remember I do the similar things. Like I crop a lot of things and like cut things up and whatever. And I remember the woman who was receiving them from me, she was like this young generation's just destroying all the clothes. And I was like, hey, at least we're still wearing them. Like these could be in the garbage.
Yeah.
There's so many clothes that end up in the garbage. Like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's a huge misconception.
Yeah, and I feel like buying used kind of makes the life of the clothes feel cyclical, like you get it, you wear it, you change it, whatever, then you give it back and you don't really feel like wasteful because they're getting something new that's also used.
What has your relationships been with fast fashion?
Over my life.
Sorry?
Over my life. Or like recently.
Yeah, or just like no, not recently, but like just yeah, throughout your whole life. Like
I think I haven't really been, without like meaning to, I don't think I've really been investing in fast fashion for like a lot of years now. Probably like 7, 8 years, just because I think I found that like my style, I was preferring like secondhand clothes anyway, and then yeah, I don't know, like it's more expensive. Like I find going to like shops and like looking through the, I mean, it does make sense because it is more effort to go look through the clothes and try to shop. But like, if you're going to find like going to the dressing room, a lot of times doesn't even fit properly anyway. So I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been buying stuff firsthand for a long time. Yeah. I feel like you just find like so much more like exciting clothes and exciting like pieces from secondhand shops. Yeah.
you know, I totally agree. Yeah, I think it's interesting how it impacts like your personal style, but I feel like even with I don't know. I don't want to. No, it's still something like I still think about. But yeah, no, I'm definitely devoid of fast fashion. But yeah, sometimes I do wonder about overconsumption, even with just thrifting and everything. Even though you know there's so much clothes in that, um, you know, there's always going to be like a surplus. But
You know, definitely like I used to buy so many clothes from like thrift shops, like for really cheap, and I'd be like, I don't even want this. Like I know that it was really cheap and it's secondhand, but still, like I'm not gonna wear it. So yeah, I feel like I've calmed down on that a bit. But definitely when I was like 16, 17, like I ended up having to give them all back to the same shops which I got from in the first place. It was like
I still do that.
Yeah.
Like I buy it in the moment because because it's so cheap. It's like
cheap.
if I don't wear it, but then
I think I have a problem as well with like vintage slips because they're so pretty and I see them in the shop and I'm like, well, maybe I'll find a way to wear it like over something or I don't know. And every time I know I'm not gonna wear it, but I can't help it. They're so pretty and I just open my closet and I see it and it makes me smile and that's it. I've never worn it.
I actually had the same thing where like, well, they were my housemates, like so it was clothes that she had, but yeah, I got like 2 slip dresses from her, and I was like, they're so pretty, and every time I put them on, I'm like, I don't know where I'm ever gonna wear this.
Yeah.
But like they're still in my wardrobe.
Yeah, when I got them, I was thinking like maybe the whole like 90s trend of like slip dresses as regular dresses is coming back soon.
trend cycles.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
that's something else.
Yeah, so it's like, this is pretty wearable, so I might as well buy it.
honestly, I think slips are like, and like, I don't know if this is a thing, but I almost feel like they're made to be that way. Like, I don't think they're made to wear all the time. I think that they're made in a way as like really beautiful objects to appreciate and kind of like have around, you know, and wear here and there maybe. But
Yeah, I guess I just never worn it ever. So.
yeah. I almost feel like I want to tell you like that's okay because it seems like it brings you so much joy.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's true. Like every time I'm at a thrift store or something, I used to look for specific things, but now I kind of just go by fabric, like browse, and if I see like lace or anything satin, or I'm really drawn to that. Yeah, but
I also feel like my style preferences change like every year as well. So like now I'm quite wary of like throwing or like not throwing stuff out, but like giving it to charity or something because I found with a lot of clothes I wore like 2 or 3 years ago and I didn't wear for 2 or 3 years, and then like I'm like, oh no, I love it again. So like you might find like next year with your slip dresses, you're like, no, I really want to wear them now.
Do you guys ever get overwhelmed with just like the rapid trend cycles?
Yeah.
Because it's so hard to like with social media and like the prevalence of it, it's so hard to distance yourself from that. I feel like no matter what, I'm always somehow interacting with like the trends. Not that like not that I'm adopting them into my style, but just that I know that they're there and they're flailing about and it's just I don't know. Maybe this is different. But I don't know, it's so overwhelming just to know that things are just always like on a pendulum and swinging.
And even if you do want to
Yeah.
not follow the trends and have your own individual style, you see the trends and you're like, oh, well, my style is now out of fashion. That affects you, you know, even if you don't want it to, it does. It's like, I'm going to look not trendy, I'm going to look outdated now. So either I just accept it or follow the fashion trend.
I also sometimes I feel like do you guys also feel this way where you feel like your identity has changed and you can just no longer wear the things that you used to wear, but then you come back to it and you're like, wait, I mean, yeah, we just discussed that, but I don't know how to articulate this, but it's always feeling like your identity has changed. And do you think that happens because of like these rapid trend cycles? I think maybe that's a better way to phrase it.
So interesting. I feel like this is another thing I haven't really like thought about directly, but I feel like I have some people in my life that are very critical about like almost like the girly things, like being really into makeup and getting dressed up. And because of that, I've almost had like a counter reaction where I'm like, clothes are just so fun. Like you can experiment so much and experiment with how you present yourself. And so I feel like that's when you ask that, I almost see it as a fun thing. Like when there are new trends, I'm like, ooh, I get to try that and like see how it looks on me. And but also not feel too like not feeling the pressure necessarily, or not feeling like bogged down by having to follow it. But it's just kind of like, ooh, now people are like trying this thing, like cool, or like pulling from different elements in different places, and how that can be fun too.
Yes, yeah, no, that is my favorite thing when it comes to trying on different things. I always like to try to reference different decades, and to me that's really, really fun. But I don't know, there's just always like that I don't know, that conflict with identity. I don't know.
I think the way fashion and clothes and everything is advertised to us nowadays isn't as a, you know, like a functional thing. They're trying to sell you identity.
Yeah.
So if you're into this kind of trend, you're this kind of person, as opposed to like, this is what you like to wear.
Like with Brandy Melville, for instance, like, yeah, that's a whole, yeah,
But yeah, like buying these clothes says this about your
Yeah.
personality,
yeah,
which it doesn't. So
yeah. I guess that's maybe what I was, thinking about, like how, if I wear this, then I must be this.
yeah, and people are
that's
gonna
more-
think
yeah.
that you're this kind of person.
Yeah.
Kaitlyn, just so you know, 3:45.
Yeah.
So no rush or anything, but just start wrapping it up.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Wow.
No rush, really. Just to let you know.
Yeah, no, of course.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone online, so
Yeah.
literally zero pressure.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you all for coming today. Some nice conversation was made. Karis got to work on her blanket.
Yeah, I did.
Yes.
Literally, I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah. I'm getting there. It's just gonna be lots of knots.
You're teaching yourself right now.
I'm teaching myself, yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Sucker. Thank you, Fourth Space, for this opportunity, because this was extremely niche, you know, and it was just really right up my alley, and it really called on to me. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. Everybody at Fourth Space here. Yes.
Yeah, it was lovely. I'm so glad, to hear all of these thoughts and like see your process. I also am really looking forward to seeing photos of the quilt.
Yes.
I'd love to see photos.
Yes, I will. I will follow up. I will follow up.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still in a bunch of different pieces right now, but yeah, I will definitely follow up.
Great.
How big is it gonna be?
I want it to be like a child size quilt, because healing the inner child and quilts are protection and security. So that's what I wanted to manifest with the size of it. But yeah, it might be like the size of this table.
Wow, that's big.
Is it?
I think so.
Wait, the whole table?
Yeah, that is really
Surely
very
that's like
impressive.
a double bed.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a really big child.
Yeah. Yeah. It's luxurious for a child, but it's okay.
Extra cozy.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Well, thank you.
It was really nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming in, guys. It was so much fun to have you in the space. It's good to work with you guys as well. And thanks to everybody who's joining us on the Zoom and also watching this afterwards. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.